I never thought the war would end with a stranger sleeping in my guest room. Ethan stared at the official document on his kitchen table, still trying to process what he'd agreed to. After 12 years of brutal conflict with the Valari, the Galactic Council had declared peace. And now, as part of the Cultural Exchange and Reparation Initiative, he, a former military officer who'd lost friends to Valari weapons, was supposed to accept one into his home. The doorbell chimed. His heart hammered as he approached the door. When it slid open, Ethan found himself staring at the most striking woman he'd ever seen. Her skin was a soft lavender shade that seemed to shimmer under the porch light, and her long white hair cascaded past her shoulders like moonlight made solid. But it was her eyes, large, silver, and impossibly expressive, that caught him off guard. "Commander Ethan Ward?" Her voice was melodic, gentle. "I am Lyra. I've been assigned as your companion aide?" She said it like a question, as if she wasn't quite sure herself. "Yeah, right. Come in." He stepped aside, suddenly aware of how empty his house probably looked to her. Lyra entered carefully, clutching a small bag that seemed to contain everything she owned. She looked around his living space with wide eyes, taking in the sparse furniture, the military medals he'd never bothered to frame, the half-empty coffee cup on the counter from 3 days ago. "This is cozy," she said, though her tone suggested she was trying to find something nice to say. "It's a mess," Ethan corrected. "Look, I'll be honest, I don't really know how this is supposed to work. The paperwork said you'd help with household stuff, but I'm here to learn your ways," Lyra interrupted softly, "and to help rebuild trust between our peoples. I know my presence may be difficult for you." There was something in her voice, a vulnerability that surprised him. She wasn't here out of arrogance or conquest. She seemed almost as nervous as he was. "The guest room's down the hall," Ethan said, his tone softer. "You can settle in. We'll figure out the rest as we go." Over the next few days, an awkward routine developed. Lyra would wake before dawn, already tidying the kitchen by the time Ethan stumbled out for coffee. She asked endless questions about Earth weather, about why humans drank hot bean water to wake up, about the strange custom of wearing shoes indoors. "On my world, we believe feet should touch the ground to stay connected to our ancestors," she explained one morning, barefoot on his kitchen tile. "That's actually pretty nice," Ethan admitted. "Here we just don't want to step on stuff." She laughed, a sound like wind chimes. It was the first time he'd heard her really laugh. "You're funny," she said, then quickly looked down as if she'd been too familiar. But something had shifted. That small moment of laughter felt like the first crack in a very thick wall. That night, as Ethan lay in bed, he could hear her humming softly in the next room, some Valari melody he didn't recognize. It should have felt strange having her here. Instead, it felt like his empty house was finally breathing again. 3 weeks had passed, and Ethan was starting to forget what silence felt like. Wait, you're telling me humans actually choose to jump out of flying vehicles for fun?" Lyra stood in the kitchen, holding a vegetable peeler like it was alien technology, her silver eyes wide with disbelief. Ethan chuckled from his spot at the counter. "Skydiving, yeah. It's a thrill thing, but why would you need more thrills? Your entire existence seems designed to risk death. You eat food that burns your mouth on purpose. You ride machines at dangerous speeds. You even have a phrase, living on the edge, like it's a good thing. And what do Valari do for excitement?" Ethan challenged, sipping his coffee. Lyra thought for a moment, her white hair catching the afternoon light. "We'd meditate under the 3 moons. Sometimes we hold hands in circles and share memories telepathically." Ethan nearly spit out his coffee. "That's it? It's very intense," she protested, but her lips curved into a smile. "Though I admit, after living here, it does sound a bit boring. I'm corrupting you already." He grinned. She looked at him then, really looked at him, and something warm flickered in her expression. "Maybe I don't mind being corrupted." The air between them suddenly felt charged. Ethan cleared his throat and stood up quickly. "Right, well, I should probably teach you how to actually use that peeler before you hurt yourself." He moved behind her, gently taking her hands in his to demonstrate the motion. Lyra's breath caught. He felt her tense, then gradually relax as his larger hands guided hers along the vegetable. "Like this," he murmured, aware of how close they were. "Smooth, even strokes." "Smooth, even strokes," she repeated softly, and something in her tone made his pulse quicken. "Is that advice for cooking? Or something else?" Ethan froze. "Did she just—" Lyra glanced back at him over her shoulder, her expression innocent but with a mischievous glint in those silver eyes. On my world, we have a saying, the blade that cuts the fruit also opens the heart. I'm still learning if humans have similar philosophies, he laughed, caught off guard by her unexpected boldness. You're getting dangerous with those double meanings. I learn from watching you, she said simply. That evening, they sat together on the couch, something that had become routine. Lyra was fascinated by human entertainment, though she found most of it baffling. Tonight they were watching an old romantic comedy. Why don't they just tell each other how they feel? Lyra asked, frustrated as the main characters missed yet another obvious connection. Because that would make it too easy, Ethan explained. Sometimes people are afraid of rejection, afraid of changing what they already have. That seems inefficient. She tilted her head. If you want someone, why not simply say so? Is that how it works for Valari? Not exactly. Lyra's voice grew quieter. We believe in the heart song. When two souls recognize each other, their heartbeats synchronize. It's sacred to us. Intimate. Like a biological connection? More than that. She struggled for words. It's how we know someone truly sees us. Not our position, not our purpose, just us. Ethan found himself studying her profile in the TV's flickering light. Have you ever experienced that? Lyra turned to face him, and the vulnerability in her eyes made his chest tighten. I'm beginning to. Before he could respond, she quickly looked away. The movie. We should finish the movie. But neither of them really watched the rest. They just sat there, shoulders almost touching, both acutely aware that something between them was shifting from companionship into something far more complicated. Later, as Lyra retreated to her room, she paused in the doorway. Ethan, thank you. For what? For not treating me like a stranger anymore. She smiled softly. For letting me belong here. After she closed the door, Ethan sat alone in the darkness, his mind racing. He was falling for her, there was no point denying it anymore. But what did that mean? She was Valari. He was human. Their peoples had been at war just months ago, and yet when she laughed at his jokes, when she looked at him like he was more than just a soldier, nothing else seemed to matter. He was in dangerous territory now, but maybe, just maybe, it was the kind of danger worth facing. The storm hit without warning. Ethan was in his study reviewing old mission reports, a habit he couldn't quite break, when the lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Thunder rolled across the sky like artillery fire, and for a moment muscle memory kicked in. His hand went to his hip where his sidearm used to be. Ethan? Lyra's voice came from the hallway, uncertain in the darkness. I'm here. Stay where you are. I'll find the emergency lights. He navigated by memory, but halfway to the supply closet, he collided with something soft and warm. Lyra gasped as his hands instinctively caught her shoulders to steady her. Sorry, I was coming to find you, she whispered. In the darkness, she seemed closer than she'd ever been. He could feel her breath, smell the faint floral scent that clung to her skin. It's okay. The backup generator should kick in soon. But even as he said it, another crack of thunder shook the house. Or maybe not. I'm not afraid of the dark, Lyra said quietly. But I am cold. He could feel her shivering under his hands. Valari had lower body temperatures. He'd read that in the briefing materials. This kind of storm would be physically uncomfortable for her. Come on. He kept one hand on her arm and guided her to the living room. I have thermal blankets in the emergency kit. Minutes later, they were huddled together on the couch, wrapped in a silver emergency blanket that barely covered both of them. Ethan had started a fire in the fireplace, one thing in the house that didn't need electricity. Better? He asked. Much. But she pressed closer to him, and he realized she wasn't shivering from cold anymore. Ethan, can I ask you something? Sure. When you first saw me at your door, what did you feel? He considered lying, but something about the darkness made honesty easier. I was scared. Not of you specifically, but of what you represented. Memories I'd tried to bury. And now? Now, he exhaled slowly. Now I'm scared of something completely different. What? How much I look forward to seeing you every morning. How empty this place felt before you arrived. How wrong it's going to feel when you eventually leave. Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Then tentatively she reached for his hand under the blanket, lacing her fingers through his. May I try something? It's personal, sacred even, but I want to share it with you. Okay. She shifted, and before he could process what was happening, she'd pressed her ear against his chest right over his heart. Her body went completely still as she listened to the steady rhythm. "This is it," she breathed. "This is the heart song I told you about. Humans have the most beautiful heartbeats in the galaxy. Strong, steady, fierce. My people believe the heart carries a person's truth. Everything they are resides in this sound." Ethan felt his pulse quicken under her attention, which only made her hold him tighter. "I can hear when it speeds up," she murmured, almost smiling. "Am I making you nervous?" "Lyra." His voice came out rough. She lifted her head to look at him, her face inches from his in the firelight. "I know this complicates everything. I know I'm supposed to be here as an aid, as a symbol of peace. But when I listen to your heartbeat, all I can think is..." She swallowed hard. "Can we do it again tonight, please?" Do what? But he knew what she meant. This, being close. Pretending that everything outside these walls doesn't exist. Just for tonight. If you're enjoying Ethan and Lyra's story and want more emotional sci-fi romance tales, subscribe. We share new stories like this every single day. Ethan should have said no. Should have maintained the professional boundary. Should have remembered that she was technically under his care through a government program. Instead, he pulled the blanket tighter around them both and whispered, "Yes, we can do it again." Lyra settled back against his chest. Her hand splayed over his heart, and they stayed like that as the storm raged outside. Two people from different worlds wrapped in warmth and possibility. And for the first time since the war ended, Ethan felt something he'd thought he'd lost forever. Hope. Morning came too quickly. Ethan woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the weight of Lyra still curled against him. Sometime during the night they'd shifted. Her head now rested on his shoulder, one leg draped across his, her white hair spilling across his chest like silk. She looked peaceful, vulnerable, beautiful. Reality crashed back in. What had he done? As if sensing his tension, Lyra stirred. Her silver eyes fluttered open, unfocused for a moment before landing on him. A slow smile spread across her face. "Good morning," she whispered. "Morning." He should move, create distance. Instead, his hand came up to brush a strand of hair from her face. "Did you sleep okay? I've never slept better in my life." She sat up slowly, the blanket falling away. "Ethan, about last night." "We should talk about it," he interrupted, finally forcing himself to stand. The loss of her warmth felt like physical pain. "Lyra, you're here through a government program. I'm technically your sponsor, or guardian, or whatever the official term is. Last night we crossed a line." She stood too, facing him with surprising steadiness. "And if I wanted to cross it? What if I choose this? It's not that simple. Your people and mine just stopped killing each other. If anyone found out that a human officer and his Valari aide were..." He couldn't finish the sentence. "Were what?"
"Falling in love?"
Her directness stunned him. "Because that's what's happening, isn't it? I feel it every time you look at me. Every time you make me laugh or teach me something new about your world. My heart song recognized yours weeks ago, Ethan. I've just been waiting for you to catch up. You can't possibly... Don't tell me what I can or can't feel." Fire flashed in her eyes now. "I'm not some naive child. I lived through the war too. I lost people I cared about. I know exactly how complicated this is." She stepped closer. "But I also know that when you held me last night, I felt safer than I've ever felt. And when I listen to your heartbeat, I hear someone who's been alone for too long, trying to convince himself he doesn't deserve happiness." The accuracy of her words hit like a physical blow. "What do you want from me?" Ethan asked quietly. "Honesty." She reached for his hand. "Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't feel anything. And I'll go back to being just your aide. I'll stop asking questions about your past, stop making jokes, stop hoping that every accidental touch means something. I can't tell you that. Then tell me the truth." Ethan looked at their joined hands, her lavender skin against his tan, so different and yet somehow perfect together. When he spoke, his voice was raw. "The truth is that I'm terrified. I spent 12 years learning to see Valari as the enemy, and now you're here. Making me coffee, asking about my childhood, falling asleep on my shoulder, and all I can think about is how much I want to kiss you, how much I want to wake up every morning exactly like this. It's not logical. It's probably not legal, but it's real." Lyra's eyes glistened. "Then stop fighting it. If we do this, if we really do this, everything changes. Everything already has changed." She moved closer until they were breathing the same air. The question is whether we're brave enough to admit it. For a long moment, they just stood there, balanced on the edge of a decision that could never be undone. Then Ethan made his choice. He kissed her. It was gentle at first, tentative, testing. But when Lyra made a soft sound of surprise and pleasure, wrapping her arms around his neck, the kiss deepened. 12 years of loneliness, of walls carefully constructed, came crashing down. She tasted like hope and danger, and everything he'd convinced himself he couldn't have. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lyra smiled against his lips. "So, does this mean we're doing it again tonight?" Despite everything, Ethan laughed. "You really need to work on your phrasing." "Why? I like keeping you guessing." Her expression turned serious. "I choose this, Ethan. I choose you. Whatever consequences come, we'll face them together." "Together," he echoed and kissed her again. Outside, the world continued turning with all its complications and consequences. But inside that house, for those stolen moments, there was only them. And it was enough. The message arrived 3 days later. Ethan stared at his tablet, his stomach sinking as he read the official communication from the Cultural Exchange Administration. Lyra, sensing his tension, looked up from the book she'd been reading, a human romance novel she'd become obsessed with. "What is it?" "They want to do a home inspection. Standard procedure, apparently. They'll be here tomorrow afternoon to evaluate the living situation and ensure the program is proceeding as intended." He set the tablet down. "Lyra, they can't know about us. If they suspect anything..." "What?" "They'll separate us?" She stood, moving to him. "Then we'll be careful. Professional when they're here, and after they leave? This doesn't end with one inspection. There will be reports, check-ins, evaluations. We'd have to hide for the entire duration of your assignment. Then we hide." Her voice was steady. "I told you I choose this. I meant it." But that night, as they lay together in his bed, something that had become their new normal, Ethan couldn't sleep. He held Lyra close, listening to her soft breathing, and realized that hiding felt like a betrayal of what they'd found. If this was real, if she truly was his heart song or soulmate or whatever term fit, shouldn't they be able to exist openly? "You're thinking too loud," Lyra murmured against his chest. "I can feel it in your heartbeat. What if we didn't hide?" He said suddenly. "What if we told them the truth?" She lifted her head. I mean, what if we went to the council together and explained that the program actually worked? That cultural exchange led to genuine connection. Isn't that the whole point of this peace initiative? They might see it as a violation of protocol. Or they might see it as proof that healing is possible. He cupped her face. "I'm tired of being afraid, Lyra. I spent 12 years at war. I don't want to spend however long we have sneaking around, looking over our shoulders, pretending we're something we're not." Tears gathered in her silver eyes. "You'd really risk everything?" "For you?" Yes, she kissed him then, deep and passionate and full of promise. Then we faced them together. The next afternoon, when the inspector arrived, a stern human woman named Captain Rodriguez. Ethan and Lyra met her at the door holding hands. "Commander Ward," Rodriguez began, glancing between them with raised eyebrows. "This is unexpected. Captain, I need to file an amendment to my participation in the cultural exchange program." Ethan's voice was steady. "Lyra and I have developed a relationship that goes beyond the parameters of the original arrangement." "I can see that." Rodriguez's expression was unreadable. "You understand this is highly irregular?" "We do," Lyra said, squeezing Ethan's hand. "But it's also real. Isn't the purpose of this program to build bridges between our species? We've built more than a bridge. We've built trust, understanding, love." Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment, studying them both. Then, surprisingly, her stern expression softened. "Off the record? You're not the first. There have been 4 other cases across the colonies, human and Valari participants forming genuine bonds. The Council has been quietly monitoring these situations. And?" Ethan asked. "And they're debating new protocols. Relationships like yours complicate things legally, but they also represent the success of the program in ways we didn't anticipate." She pulled out her tablet. "I'll note in my report that you formed a strong cross-cultural partnership. I suggest you petition for a status change. Move from aid assignment to voluntary cohabitation. It'll take time, but it's possible. Relief flooded through Ethan. Thank you. After Rodriguez left, Lyra threw her arms around him, laughing and crying at the same time. We did it. We actually did it. We did. He lifted her off her feet, spinning her around. No more hiding. That evening, they sat together on their couch, no longer his couch but theirs, watching the sunset through the window. Lyra's head rested over his heart, her favorite place to be. Can I ask you something? She said softly. Always. Can we do this every night? Forever? Ethan smiled, finally understanding what she'd been asking all along. Not just for physical closeness, not just for intimacy, but for this. The promise of staying, of building something permanent, of choosing each other day after day. Yeah, he whispered, pressing a kiss to her white hair. We can do it again. Every night. For as long as you'll have me. Then we have a deal, Commander. She tilted her head up to kiss him. My heart song and I are in this for the long run. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Ethan held the woman who'd transformed his world from empty silence into something beautiful. The war had tried to teach them to hate. But in the end, peace hadn't come from treaties or politics. It had come from two hearts learning to beat as one. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing. We post powerful sci-fi love stories every day. Let Ethan and Lyra's journey remind you that love can bridge any divide, even between the stars.